To continue, in part 2, what we have to understand is the occult student must be aware of what exists in the continuum of the darkest magic. He or she must know why certain magical substances are preferred by the more subtle spirits than the crudity of a mere human sacrifice. Thus, the magician must determine his orientation in this matter and surrender himself or herself to these nightly obsessions that are coming from within, because they are all about yourself, as they come down upon him or her. For as they manifest themselves in the most intense eroticality, as they come down upon his body and take him or her. So by draining out the vitality of the unconscious and subconscious id and libido, they fill up the area where they have taken the power with pure elemental power of the most intense physicality. By identification of this power with the element of water, with the western place in the temple, we encounter the onrush of extremely psychic forces, and the onrush pours into the soul of the magician, or wizard, or sorcerer. As it becomes more and more powerful, he identifies himself more and more with the prior pre-level layers of being, with pure primordiality or primordialness of energies and powers, which are the basis of the whole family of Ghede. The domain of complete lust, the lust for lust itself, transformed into magical power and psychic capacities. Now, in order to possess the reality of this power, you must take it into yourself. As the spirits are taking from your powers, you begin to take from the spirits' powers. This power from them, once received, then becomes the basis for all magical operations derived from this most esoteric view of this type of sexual magic. When power is then needed, all one has to do is to bring to focus these wraith-like clouds of astral libido or sexual energy, which are now one's own and which are wrapped around oneself with firmness and fury of the most pre-orgasmic lust. The sorcerer, under the circumstances, will then be able to master the secrets as they are poured into him or her by means of subtle lines or connectiveness, which, being wraith-like themselves, are the astral lines of ejaculation created in the etheric void by the action of these larval spirits seeking more and more food from mankind. Now, understand this, as I keep repeating throughout these videos, we have an abundance of sexual energy in this physical realm. Sexual energy and sexual cream is food for the spirits. They feed the spirits. They enhance the power and capability of the spirits. Not only do they enhance the power and capability of the spirits, they also enhance the power of yourself. You have now become a conduit or a gateway between the spirits and yourself. You have become a vampire in a true sense of the word, where you absorb the spirit's energies, you absorb sexual energy and take it within yourself and translate it to psychic, magical powers. In return, these spirits feed off of the sexual energy you're providing them. It's a crossway of energy and work. So these two workings together, the spirit and you in the physical, and the spirit in their realm of existence, interlacing or interacting, bring forth a more powerful you, and you are feeding your ancestral DNA line to keep them strong and to be able to do more workings for them. It's essential because many would be embarrassed or ashamed to really open up the doorway to their sexual energy, to their sexual thoughts, fantasies, and ideas. You should never be ashamed for any of that, for it is all a part of you, and you are all a part of it. Because of the religious restrictions, the right-hand path mentality. You're always taught to circumvent or to disperse or to eliminate or to channel, to control the sexual energy and never release it. In the African systems, real African magic, real African sorcery, not these watered down religious traditions we have today, although they're all beautiful and I came through a lot of them, they're still watered down, and you will find out for yourself if you choose for that experience. They're watered down religious versions of the real dark magic, real sorcery we had in Africa. What I can tell you is that when you work with these spirits, you're working with yourself. Your higher self is the magnet and the doorway, gateway that communicates with these spirits. The more you increase your sexual prowess, your sexual power, the more you have access to higher realms of consciousness, higher dimensions of consciousness, access to your higher self more clearly, and a straight, streamlined, telepathic gateway communication to your ancestral spirits and spirits that have deceased and passed on from the physical into the spiritual. However, what happens is with sex, as with anything else, we are embarrassed to speak about it. So we don't really know as much about sex as we think we do. It's a shame because of that, most of us have become abusive of sex. We're just seeking a straight nut. We don't know how to translate that power to alter states of consciousness and higher realms of consciousness. So it just becomes a fuck. I'm all for fucking, but there has a time and place when you just fuck, and a time and place when you can use that fucking to translate into higher power and consciousness. So, unfortunately, in today's world, we have been taken far away from our traditions of real sorcery, African sorcery, dark magic sorcery, and been given some modern day new age crap that's not really working the way people think it is. The question is, can you take control and possession of your sexuality? Can you utilize it as sexual magical powers? Are you going to be embarrassed of your sexual thoughts, fantasies, or even perversions you may have? Or are you going to use it to empower yourself? Now, here's something y'all can do. Write down your fantasy. Write it down. Give it as much detail as possible. I mean extreme detail. And then after you've written it down, read it and feel, is this something I could share with somebody? Is this something I could possibly truly do? The act of this fantasy, could I possibly do it? If you feel you can, take that where you wrote it, which should have been a piece of paper or papers, fold it, okay? And take whatever oil you choose to magnetize that with, charge that up, pass it over the candles. You should, if you're working with your spirits, you could have black candle, red candle. You could also have a blue candle for the water elements, the abyss, dark abyss spirits. You can have red for the passionate, lustful spirits. You can have yellow for the fiery spirits, and you can have green for the spirits of love. You can have all four of those on the altar: north, south, east, and west. The yellow should be in the north. The west should be blue, and the south should be green, and the east should be red. Take that fantasy pass it over the candles after you've anointed this fantasy that you wrote on a paper. Pass it over the oils. Pass it over the candles. Put it between the red and black candle. Rub your hands. Clap 3 times, and put it over the paper, over the candle and the papers, and feel the energy surge forth, and then say it is done. Now, if you really want that fantasy to come true, it will begin to manifest because you're using the spirits that are drawn to that sexual energy, and they and you work together to make that fantasy a reality. If you really don't want that fantasy to happen, it's just a thought, don't even do this exercise. Continue on with your merry way. So work this magic and get deep into it. Now, I want to leave this thought with you because I'll go further into other videos about the demonic priesthood. Demonic priesthood, the order of Set, the sexual order of Set. I'm not talking about the temple of Set and things like that. I'm talking about the real sexual order of Set. Many of your actions have been unconscious, but you're making them conscious now. That means you are literally embodying the energy of Set, who's a nonconformist, who's a master of chaos. There's nothing more powerful than chaotic primal sex. When you try to ritualize it too much, try to control it too much, try to make it too fluffy and light, you're losing the primal chaotic power. You're losing that embodiment of Set, Sutekh, the isolated consciousness. And you're losing the ability to access more clear messages and guidance from your demonic self, your higher self. So, if you really want to continue with this access, do not be afraid and partake of your sexual desires and indulge within it. But be wise in your choices and do things within a common mind of this should be something considered to be legal. Never do anything illegal. I don't care how much you want it. Never do anything illegal that's going to jam you up, because your work will end and your life will be different from that moment forward. Do things always within legal bounds. But if you desire, break all restrictions, limitations, boundaries, rules, borders that you placed upon yourself, on your mind about sex. Sex is a very powerful force. And the liquid or elixir that is produced from the magic wand of a man and the elixir produced from the vagina or yoni of a female are potent elixirs. When mixed together, they become even more potent. You should not be afraid to partake in that elixir, whether it's through coitus, which is intercourse, penis, and a vagina, or through oral sex, or whatever your preference is sexually, whether it's homosexual, whether it's bisexual, whatever it is, that's your preference. Do that. But be wise in your choices and selections. And unleash the beast, but always keep it within legal bounds. Don't ever hem yourself up. And I guarantee you will start to receive higher messages, greater insight from your dreams, and you will open that gateway to more communication with your spirits, your ancestral spirits, and spirits in general that have been working with you since you were a young person, a young child. These are just some examples. I'll go further and further each video. If this is a topic you all like, you can contact me at RavanaNun, RAVANANUN, at Outlook.com. Again, that's RavanaNun at Outlook.com. With any questions or comments you would like to make in regards to this topic, if you want further information and you want to build further, hit me up. There's only so much I'm going to share on video, but this is just the beginning of more information to come, little by little. Peace.